Hey guys, I figured out a delicious buttery and flaky keto puff pastry. My mind is reeling with all the possibilities, but today I'm going to be making some strawberry cream cheese toaster strudels. So let's get started. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alicia and I'm a sous chef with a sweet tooth. And here we make delicious pastries, many from my time as a pastry chef. And my goal is to make the best keto pastries possible. If you enjoy this content, please consider hitting the subscribe button down there. I'm coming at you every Saturday with a new keto dessert recipe. Today we're diving into the world of puff pastry. And this took a lot of trial and error, but I finally got a nice flaky puff pastry. It is a little bit of work, but the possibilities are endless. I'm definitely gonna be making a big batch of this and just having it in my freezer ready to go. You just put it in the fridge to let it defrost, and then you can roll it out and use it for whatever you like. So let's dive in. I'm gonna show you how I measure everything because I feel like a lot of times that's where recipes go wrong. And I always say, I would invest in a scale, $15 on Amazon, because no matter how many times I scoop stuff with measuring cups, they never come out to the same weight. I usually do grams. This recipe is really simple. It's pretty much 30 grams of everything, but everything weighs differently. So like our protein powder, it says one scoop is 29 grams. You gotta really pack it in there though. That one was 29. Most times I do it is 27 or 26 even. So you gotta make sure you pack that really well. Now coconut flour, it's supposed to be 30 grams for a quarter cup. So let's see if this is right. Now this, I find you almost don't need a whole quarter of a cup. Yeah, I got some like gaps in there. See, I had all that left in my measuring cup and I'm at 30 grams. So it's never consistent. Now oat fiber is the same way. Now this on the back of it says like serving size, 3/1/10 of a gram. I don't know what that means. So I do 30 grams. So I scoop up, level out. So I found a quarter cup leveled out and 2 tablespoons is about 30. That was 30. But if you don't do it the exact same way I do it, it might turn out differently. So that's why I wanted to show you how I measured it. And then you just need a couple pinches of pink Himalayan sea salt or whatever salt you prefer. And then 1 teaspoon each of gelatin and xanthan gum. These 2 ingredients, you probably could go with just one or the other, but together they give the right consistency. 1 teaspoon each. Those should each be 4 grams for a teaspoon. You just give this a whisk. Now, I already did some prep work ahead of time. The best way I found to do the butter that you're putting into this is by grating it on a big box grater onto a plate and freezing it before you even get started on any of this. And the butter's from the fridge, so it grates real well. If it's room temperature, it's just gonna get mushy. I found that the oat fiber is best for dusting because that doesn't add any extra carbs to what we're making. It's not going to dry out like coconut flour would. Now the way we get our layers into this puff pastry, I put mine in the freezer for 15 minutes. You can put it in the refrigerator for about a half an hour, but who has time for that? And every time you pull it out, you roll it and you fold it. And then you put it back in the freezer. You do that as many times as you like. I say at least twice, if not 3 times, is like the best to get super flaky layers in there. You need some ice water. You're gonna be using about 6 or 7 tablespoons, so make sure you have enough there and you have your tablespoon measure. Then you're just gonna mix with a fork so that you don't have to touch it, so that the butter's not gonna melt and you're gonna get nice big chunks of butter in your dough. Have your plastic wrap ready too. Okay, grabbing my butter out of the freezer. And then you got your flour mixture. You're just gonna put your butter in there. See, even touching it with your hand just gets stuck and starts melting right away. There you go. Now, I tried this recipe with a bunch of different amounts of water. I'm gonna show you the exact consistency to make this the best. Once you get your butter all in there, I start with 5 tablespoons of ice water. Let's mix that with the fork. It's starting to come together, but you still have a lot of flour at the bottom. The last time I did 6.5 and it was just right. Maybe 7 even. Yeah. If your house is really warm, you want to do this really quickly. Still a little cold here in Buffalo, so another half of a tablespoon. I think we'll be good. Got some sticky bits. It pretty much forms a dough. With your messy hands, get your plastic wrap out. Now you don't want to work it too much with your hands. You don't want to warm this up at all. So just quickly get it into semi-rectangle, because that's what we're going to be rolling this out as. I find it easier to do this now than when it's refrigerated. Wrap it up. We're going to chill it for 15 minutes in the freezer or 30 minutes in the refrigerator. So for the filling for this, I tested last night with just my strawberry jam recipe and my cream cheese filling recipe from my Danish. They were both too runny, I think. So today's going to be kind of a test on the filling. I made my strawberry jam recipe, which is in my biscuit video. I'll link that up there for you so you guys can check that out if you want to make strawberry jam or any kind of jam. But then I took out 3 heaping tablespoons, which is what I think we're going to need for filling our 6 strudels. And I added a teaspoon of water with a half teaspoon of gelatin. I bloomed that, microwaved it, and added it to that jam to make it really solid so that we're going to be able to fill these up really good and hopefully have a nice filled toaster strudel. We'll be back when we have to pull that out, and I'll show you how to roll and fold your puff pastry. So I got it here. We're gonna dust with our oat fiber. The more you work it, the more of a dough it becomes. You'll see when I first start this, it's gonna be kind of cracking, but you wanna just keep rotating and keep squaring up your dough, or rectangling it up, I guess. Just keep pushing it together. You can see all the chunks of butter in there. Okay, that's about good enough. Now there's a couple different ways to do this. To get the most out of each fold, if you're only gonna do this once or twice, definitely do the book fold, which is you take it into the middle and then you fold it over again. Now before this warms up too much, you can do this again in this session. You reflour a little bit so they don't stick, and do it again. If it starts to get sticky on you at all, make sure you reflour a little bit. You want to add as little extra flour as possible because that will make it a little bit drier. This opens up so many possibilities. Anything you'd wrap in crescent roll dough, you can do it. Okay, I'm going to do another book fold. Just kind of squish it together, and we're going to put it back in the freezer for another 15 minutes. It took us less than 5 minutes to roll, so really it's just a lot of wait time. But once it's all done, you can just have it ready in your freezer for whatever you want. So I'll be doing that 2 more times, and then we'll get on to making the filling and getting these rolled out and made into little toaster strudels. Can't wait. At this point, 15 to 30 minutes, but we still gotta make our cream cheese part of the filling. So all you need for this is some softened cream cheese, a little bit of powdered monk fruit sweetener, some lemon, and vanilla extract, and that's it. Oh, we should also preheat our oven to 425 degrees. Get it all mushed together, get this powdered sugar kind of incorporated a little bit. You can also use a mixer, but I didn't feel like grabbing out anything for this recipe. It's very minimal equipment you need. You can also use any store-bought jam you have if you have a sugar-free one you want to use. Now we're just going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of lemon, and a half a teaspoon of vanilla. Whip it up a little bit. It'd be better if I had a stronger small whisk. That looks good. The monk fruit sweetener in there, I just used a powdered. You just want to use some kind of powdered confectioner's, but that is totally to taste. I did, I think, 3 tablespoons. I'm going to put it into a piping bag to hopefully make it a little bit easier. One of the great things about this puff pastry recipe that I didn't even mention, that whole thing of puff pastry is only 8 grams of net carbs, just basically from the coconut flour. Okay, it's been about 25 minutes. My dough is still in the freezer, but I just want to show you my setup. I got a pan with parchment paper. I found the best way to get the best color on top was egg yolk with just a little bit of water. A pastry brush, which I didn't actually own one. I grabbed one from work, but it is the best tool, but you can use your fingers also. It's just a little bit more messy. I have a ruler to kind of measure out. I definitely want 12 inches at least, if not a little bit longer. And then I did like 9 inches yesterday. I got cream cheese filling ready. I have my jam still in the refrigerator. I have a knife to cut rectangles we're gonna need. Time to grab out our puff pastry. I'm gonna give a little dusting first. You can see as I was folding, it was getting more pliable and staying together better. And that's what you want with all the folding you're doing. You're getting it more of a dough and less cracking around the edges. So that's another reason to fold it a bunch of times. Okay, time to start rolling. When it's been in the freezer for a while, it's a little bit tougher to start rolling out, but it'll stay colder longer. Just keep working it out, trying to keep even pressure. I'm not even that great at it, but you want it even throughout. As you're getting cracks, smoosh it together. And also, the reason you keep turning it too is to make sure you're not getting stuck. That would suck to get all the way rolled out and then realize it's all stuck to your board. See, you're thick on one side, or like that corner was not cooperating. Might take a little bit to work it in, but it will eventually stick. It's funny, it acts just like the puff pastry at work. Trying to stick it back together and it doesn't like to do it. You see, it's almost getting elastic. Pull them back. Let's see how the measurements are. 9.5 by 13. We're gonna call it there. So since this is 9, I'm gonna cut it 3 inches. This is totally up to you also. And my boyfriend preferred it thin, but like if you're gonna make croissants, I would definitely go a little bit thicker. They were delicious. I did make a couple. I was testing different things I can make with it, and they were pretty darn good. But I made it like probably, yeah, 1/8 of an inch thick. This is probably only 1/16 of an inch thick. So you're cutting it 3 by 4 so that we're gonna have 12. You can also reshape them after this and kind of cut edges off and do what you like with them. And then I pick my smaller ones to put the filling on and then bigger ones to drape over. So they're all pretty similar in size actually. I did way better today than I did last night. Mine were all sorts of weird shapes yesterday. I'm gonna grab out our strawberry filling. Now, to stick the sides, you're gonna need some egg wash. So start by egg washing your edges a little bit. We'll do 4 for now because you don't want the egg wash to dry before you get all your filling in there. And then put your lids on. Push them down the edges. I hope these don't burst. So I put a lot more filling in this time because it's not so runny. I watched one video on regular, puff pastry. They used Pillsbury and they made their own toaster strudels. They still had leaking. So I don't know if it's just not possible or what. Okay, our last ones. And we're not even gonna need all this filling still. So it's gonna be even less carbs. Okay, now I had a fork. There it is. You take a fork and you dip it in your flour and you crimp down the sides. Hopefully, that means they're all nice and sealed. Transfer them to your baking sheet. I picked the fork with the most bent tines, so my crimps aren't as pretty as I would like them to be. But they're gonna have to do. Okay, now we brush with a little bit of egg wash. Okay, so I am popping these into my 425-degree oven. I am probably going to bake these a little over 15 minutes. I'll be back in a few to show you how they turn out. Okay, they were in the oven for 15 minutes. They still burst, some of them more than others. So I think it's just how good your seal is. So make sure you seal them up very well. But because we put more filling in it this time than I've been able to in the past, I'm hoping that there's still going to be a decent amount of filling in most of these. They have nice golden brown on the bottom. They're golden brown around the edges. So we got to let these cool. I'm going to transfer them to a wire rack just so that they cool faster. And then we're going to make up the icing, drizzle these with some toaster strudel icing. This is totally optional, of course. You can just dust them with some powdered sugar if you'd like. That'd be delicious. But I have 3 tablespoons of powdered monk fruit here. I'm just adding 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. You can also use a nut milk. Might need a little bit less because this is thick. and almond milk and stuff is very runny. You don't want this to be runny. 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract and just give it a whisk. You don't want any lumps in here, which if you don't want lumps and want to make it easier, sift your powdered sweetener. I didn't do that. And then I just have a regular Ziploc bag here that I'm going to use to do my piping. I usually put the corner down here so I can pour it right down in there. Ziploc it up. Obviously don't cut the corner until we're ready to pipe, but that's ready to go. Okay, our toaster strudels have been cooling for about a half an hour. They are no longer hot to the touch. Let's ice these guys. Cut a small tip on your bag. Oh, already running out. Hey, they look delicious. It's time to try them. Okay, here's our lovely plate of toaster strudels. They look so good. And they're, what, 3 grams of net carbs each? Not very many carbs, and they're pretty big. Flaky layers. Still not a lot of filling, but gonna taste delicious. Flaky and crispy on the outside, and soft and delicious on the inside. Super buttery too. More cream cheese stayed in than last time. I couldn't even see any. Delicious addition to your morning cup of coffee. Let me know what your favorite thing is to do with puff pastry. And as always, I'll be back with many more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys.